The Cubs say they want more pitching, and the top guy out there is Zach Gallen. And there's some experts that feel like the Cubs and Zach Gallen could eventually work itself out. I love the idea. Put this guy in the rotation. It makes the entire depth of the staff a lot better, and it changes the complexion of this Cubs team heading into the start of the season. We'll find out. We're going to talk about it, though, right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, hit the bell, do all those things. And thank you guys for being a part of what we do on a daily basis. I love you. Thank you. Go Cubs. All right, there's a lot of smoke coming out right now about the Cubs and Zach Gallen. And it started really in December when Bob Nightingale was like, throws out a tweet, and he's coming to the Cubs. Wait for this deal to happen. And then everybody walked it back. And so did he. And that happens sometimes in this business. But it doesn't mean that Bob Nightingale doesn't have great sources. It means something happened and the deal didn't get done. Then the Cubs trade Owen Casey for Edward Cabrera. And that is, to some of you guys, very questionable. I think Owen Casey has the potential to make the Cubs very disappointed in this deal, but he has a lot of swings and misses. And Edward Cabrera is a guy who could potentially be lights out at the top of a rotation if he can pitch enough and if he can stay healthy, right? But the whole thing's been pitching to go along with this amazing defense. Well, we know Justin Steele's not going to be back until May or June. And then when he comes back, we don't even know how good he's going to be. So why would the Cubs and Zach Gallen be connected? Well, I'm going to get into that because I think that this is not just that tweet, not just those rumors. I think this makes a lot of sense. Now, I want to tell you guys a story, okay? Cubs went out and they signed this free agent, and his name was John Lester. And everybody was like, John Lester, the guy that helped the Red Sox win the World Series, and he'd just been traded, and maybe he's going to go back to Boston, and why would he go to the stinky Cubs? Well, he did. And that was the beginning of the Cubs building for the World Series to me. I thought that was the move where you were like, I know all the losing and the drafting and everything else, but I felt like that was the moment where I was like, okay, right? That and Joe Madden. Then all of a sudden, the Cubs went and they got a guy named David Ross. Not much of a hitting catcher, but it was John Lester's personal catcher. And those two guys worked together and became one of the best tandems in baseball. And we found out that, Rossi in the big game could hit. I mean, he helped us win the World Series. And I think he's going to be a really good manager one day. I thought he was okay with the Cubs. I think he's going to be really good one day. And I'm excited to see what this connection could be. And you're saying, well, what's the connection, Mick? The Carson Kelly connection. This is one of the reasons why I feel like the Cubs are really in the mix here for Zach Gallen. I think that catchers and pitchers, when they work together, it really means something, right? And it's not always like that. Greg Maddux had his own personal catcher. He had a guy that felt like, when he had him out there, he was on the same page. And that's what Carson Kelly is to Zach Gallen. 55 games where the two have been together, 55 starts. Gallen has a 2.81 ERA in those games. Batters are hitting 2.02 against him in those starts, right? So, think about that. Gallen last year had a pretty bad start to the season, right? He had a 4.83 ERA in 33 starts. But what you guys got to know, and I think the Cubs saw this, is that the end of the season he was pretty good. And you look at all the analytics and barrel rate and all this stuff, swings and misses, all that was a lot better. So he was trending in the right direction when the season ended. And his catcher is an integral part of the Cubs, right? Carson Kelly. So you got those two things. Now, the Cubs are the perfect bounce-back team. You got the pitch lab, which I feel like has been one of the Cubs' biggest assets, right? Like their ability to take a pitcher and basically break them down, build them back up, and then obviously get them to where they're maybe the best they've ever been, or maybe back to where they were, or whatever. I mean, that's the Cubs. I feel like that is the number one thing that I would say this organization can hold its hat on, besides team defense. That would be good for him. He's going to do a contract with opt-outs because he's not going to get the deal that he and Scott Boras, his agent, want. And that's because he just hasn't lived up to the numbers yet. Like, they're just not there. So you got those two things. The other thing, right? What about the teams that are in the mix? He could go back to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Let's be honest here. The Arizona Diamondbacks are the equivalent to a AAA team. No, not the talent, but the fan base. People in Arizona don't even care about them. Like, you go to the games there, if the Cubs are in town, they have more fans than the Diamondbacks. It's a transient city. People really don't feel connected with the organization. It's like playing in AAA. People are like, oh, yeah, like the Diamondbacks. I'm a Yankees fan. I guess I go if the Yankees are there. I'm a Cubs fan. Cardinals are in town. I'll go. Like, it's not like you got a bunch of diehard Diamondbacks fans. You come to Chicago and guess what? Go ask Andre Dawson. Because Montreal and Arizona are very equivalent when it comes to baseball fandom. Cubs fans, we're everywhere. Everywhere you go, you're going to see somebody wearing a Cubs hat. You're going to have somebody walk up to you. I spent a summer with Ryne Sandberg. Now, I know he's a Hall of Famer, but it was absolutely amazing that everywhere we went, everybody knew who he was. If Rhino had played for the Diamondbacks or the Expos, he still would be a Hall of Famer, but it wouldn't be the same thing, right? The status that you get if you go play at Wrigley Field and you perform well is amazing. And then on top of that, it's going to be an easier division. The Central is going to be a lot easier to deal with than the West, right? You don't have the Dodgers, you don't have the Giants, and you don't have the Padres. You got the Brewers who are trending down. You got the Cardinals who are in a rebuild. You got the Pirates who we're not sure what they're going to look like. I mean, they got a lot of young talent, but they've never been able to put it together. And then they got the Reds, who Fangraphs tells us are going to go down from last year. I don't know. I think the Reds are going to be pretty good myself, but nothing like what you're going to be dealing with. The Dodgers have amassed an all-star team with all the money they've spent. The Padres seem to always be good. The Giants are like, it's an easier fit. And then if you're able to navigate the wind blowing out between the wind blowing in, and some years the wind blows in a lot more than out. I don't know, whatever. I think that when you opt out of your contract, you're going to get a more of a deal. And maybe that's just the way I look at it. The other thing is, it was the Cubs, the Diamondbacks, and the Orioles that we heard were the kind of the last three standing. Baltimore doesn't have any money. Okay, they made a mistake when ownership approved allowing the Nationals to move into their market, because the Nationals have sucked up a lot of Baltimore's money. That's why they don't like each other. That's why the ownership has had problems with Major League Baseball. There are court cases about this. When Baltimore was the DC Baltimore market, they could contend as far as spending. Now it's just like basically Baltimore, not a lot of money there. They wanted Framber Valdez. They didn't have enough money to beat the Tigers out for him. They don't have enough money for Zach Gallen. It's not going to happen. So it's going to be the Diamondbacks against the Cubs. And the Carson Kelly connection, the fact that the Cubs are going to be a pretty good team this year, plus the defense you have behind you. I mean, think about the defense that you're pitching to. The Cubs have an infield defense that's probably the best in baseball. They got, I think, the best defensive center fielder in the game. They had the best left fielder in the game defensively. And then, whoever's out in right field, you hope they can hold their own, which would namely be Seiya Suzuki. So I feel like this has legs, right? Bruce Levine, who's on the Score, said on Saturday that he feels like the Cubs are still in there. I have felt the exact same way throughout this process. Until he signs with the Diamondbacks, he hasn't done it. I think that the Cubs have the ability to navigate the cap depending on how they structure this contract. Maybe I think they're willing to go over the cap some to be able to put a team out there that they know can win the division and that will give them a legitimate chance if everything falls into place to be a World Series contender. And when you get into the postseason, anything can happen. Now, I know the Dodgers are the two-time defending champs. They're not going to win every year. Things happen. Guys get hurt. Teams get good. I mean, it very easily could have been the Blue Jays as World Series champs this year. They had the lead going late in the game. They just couldn't hold on to it. So Cubs probably feel like, hey, we're doing all these things. Zach Gallen gives us just another major piece to the rotation. You slide him up there with Cade Horton, Seiya Suzuki, Shoti Minaga. You got Matthew Boyd. You start to look around. Edward Cabrera. You got all these guys, the swingmen, which I feel like we have two of the best swingmen in the game, and Javier Assad and Colin Ray. I love the rotation if you add Zach Gallen. I think a lot of you guys like it even without him. But with him, it makes it really looks great on paper. And I think the Cubs want to be on the side of having too much than not enough. Because you can always flip a starting pitcher. Like season starts, doesn't matter. Teams are always willing to make a deal if they think they can get something to help their roster moving forward. So anyway, that's where we are. That's today's show. And then the other thing is just waiting for this deal to happen because it could happen at any moment. I think that Gallen is going to want to have his deal done sometime this week. Just get me to the team I'm pitching for. I don't want to get there late. I want to be there early, mix with the team, do my thing. You guys tell me what you think. Thank you for helping us every day. We're closing in on 10,000 subscribers. That's been our goal. Once we get there, we'll come up with a new goal. But that's where we are right now. Help us push forward. If you're not a member, join. It's free. Comment in the comments section. You want to get a hat like this, like our logo right there. You can do that. We give them away through our friends at AveD. That is Mick Nation. What a great name, right? Mick Nation. Boom. AveD. Yeah, that's us. QR code's right there under the microphone. Just click that, pause, click, and join. It's free. We do games and contests and all that stuff constantly. It's our Web3 home. But also get in the comments section. If you want to buy a hat, if you want to be in the running to win a hat, make sure you leave your email address. But thank you guys, and go Cubs. We'll talk to you.